This is the Bible Show. Welcome, folks, to another episode of the Bible Show. My name is Sam. Joining me today is Will, and we are continuing our series in the book of Genesis. Today we're getting to Genesis 42. This is going to be when the famine is ramped up. All the brothers are sent to get grain from Egypt. But before we jump into today's chapter, Will, why don't you tell us, how did we get here?
Speed up summary.
Speed up summary.
Joseph, favorite child of Jacob. Mom's Rachel. She's dead, though, when we start in 37. 37, he gets a coat of many colors. Favorited by dad. Brothers hate him. Very divisive family. They all don't like Joseph. It's very clear. Dad favors Joseph. Joseph goes out to meet his brothers to bring a bad report to dad. They're like, we've had enough of this. Let's kill this kid. They're like, let's not kill him. That's a lot. But let's sell him. Boom. Joseph sold into slavery. Ends up in whose house?
Potiphar.
Potiphar's house. Guard. Okay. He's doing great there. Everything he touches turns to gold. Potiphar's like, you're my guy. Who's the problem, though?
Potiphar's wife.
Potiphar's wife likes Joseph a little too much, and she comes on to him. Joseph's a stand-up guy, though. He says no. But she's like, he assaulted me. Potiphar's like, does he like that?
Does he like that?
Does Potiphar like that Joseph maybe assaulted his wife?
He's pretty upset about it.
He's pretty upset. So where does Joseph find himself?
Down in the prison.
Down in prison. Who does he meet in prison?
He meets the cupbearer and the baker.
And they promise him what?
They promise, the cupbearer promises to give a good report about him to get him out of jail.
So they have dreams. Joseph's good interpreting dreams by God's power. And he should be out of prison.
But they forget him.
They forget him.
And so at the end of that chapter, that's a good bullet point summary. Well done.
We did it.
I like the booms and all the,
we had a little
transition moments there. So we get to the end of Genesis chapter 41. He's languishing, right? And then we get the chapter, which is like he's elevated, right?
This is the moment.
So the cupbearer hears that Pharaoh has had the dreams, and these dreams are troubling. What are these dreams?
The 7 years, there's 7 lean cows, 7 fat cows.
Yeah.
Wait, 7 fat and then 7 lean.
Yep. And so the lean ones eat, the ugly, evil-looking ones swallow up the like stalks, eat up the plump and healthy ones. And so Joseph comes, interprets, says, hey, we're going to have 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine, lays out a plan for that. Pharaoh says, you're my guy, exalts him. And then sure enough, as chapter 41 comes to an end, all of Joseph's dream interpretations given by God are coming true. And so we're told when the famine had spread all over the land, Joseph opened up the storehouses because that was the plan. We're going to store up. We're going to tax everybody 20%. We're going to take 20% of all of their crops and their abundance. We're going to put it in silos. We're going to store it up. And then we're going to give it to the Egyptians when the famine hits. And so sure enough, they opened all the storehouses and sold, which is, as a libertarian, that's just, no, I can't handle that. They sold it back to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. Moreover, now this is important, all the earth came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain because the famine was severe over all the earth. And I want to just pause there for a moment for two rabbit trails, two soapboxes going on here. One is, in this story, you have something, and you see this actually in Egyptian history that's kind of fascinating. You have Joseph, who is using the abundance and the taxation on the people of Egypt, that he gathers up all the stuff from their labors.
Yeah.
And then when the famine comes, he sells it back to them. And we're going to find out they have to give their land and all their herds and everything else to where they're eventually driven down into servitude. But this is something that the Bible puts in sharp relief, right? You have the Egyptian form of thing that grows the power of a centralized government that says, Egypt will take care of you. And I'm not faulting Joseph here, but I am saying that the Bible's teaching us something here.
Yeah.
Centralized government leads to the ultimate enslavement of the Egyptians, which then turns around and enslaves the Hebrews later on. But the Bible, when it comes and God gives the law, does it say, like, what's the difference between Joseph's model here and what God prescribes to Moses on Mount Sinai? Much different.
Yeah, one's forced, one's generous.
That's very good. One is going to be very, very high up, top down. Pharaoh will take care of all you minions, right?
Yeah.
Where when the Bible comes and it gives prescriptions for what charity is supposed to look like and taking care of the poor, where does it start? From the bottom
people,
up, right? And so you go to Leviticus, and sorry for pausing here. I think this is an important one, though.
It's fascinating how you get to this conversation from almost anyone.
It's my thing. But it's the problem. Like, if you look and people say, what's wrong? Well, like, if you don't have love where you're taking care of your neighbors, your society, no matter how good your government is, or no matter how good your government wants to be, is going to be trash. Like, it's going to lead toward tyranny where you don't have a cohesive nation. So Leviticus 25, which is all about liberty, that chapter, verses 35 to 37 says, if your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, you should look to Pharaoh. No, that's not where it goes. It says, you shall support him as though he were a stranger, and as a sojourner he shall live with you. Take no interest from him or profit, but fear your God, that your brother may live beside you. You shall not lend him your money at interest, nor give him your food for profit. And the law comes along and says, and you're going to have gleaning laws that allow the poor to come into your farmlands and take the scraps after your people have gleaned. They're going to be able to harvest the fringes of your property. They have to work for it, but if they're penniless, you take care of them, right? And so the ethic, and by the way, the tithe, 10%, that was to be given to the priest was for the poor, was for the widows, was for orphans and strangers. And so you had safety nets, but where did those safety nets come from? It wasn't government.
Yeah.
It was family and the church from the religious side of it, right? And so that is the ethic that the Bible sets to us, right? It supports strong families and strong private associations. The problem with the Egyptian model going on here is I've taken the tax from you, and now I'm going to sell it back to you and drive you into further poverty to where you can't get back on your feet. So there's my soapbox.
Now we can start the chapter. Thank you.
But one of the things, another archaeological note, is when you go back in Egyptian history, you see this play out. When you're in the 12th dynasty, which is right where you find Joseph, 18th, 19th century BC, all of a sudden you go from having a political structure all throughout Egypt where it's like regional. You have something called nomarchs, which are like they're in charge of regions, like a governor of a state almost. Okay. And they control. They're more privately run in your own separate tribal kind of identities. But right here, everything changes. The nomarchs, they go away. And everything becomes centralized in the government of one particular pharaoh, which actually they co-reign together. But it is a pharaoh called Senusret III and his son Amenemhat III, which is right when you find Joseph. And all of a sudden, everything goes from being kind of dispersed power that's regional all together into one centralized power, which is exactly what you find in this story, right?
Yep.
Joseph's over all the regions, and now all the resources are coming to Pharaoh. And I think it's fascinating that in history, this is exactly what you see play out.
That is interesting.
All right, so that's what's happening, right? Pharaoh and his house and Joseph are literally becoming available. They control it all. And so one of the other things that's cool about that last verse is it says, all the earth came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain. Now, here's something that's kind of interesting that you have to read into. When Joseph starts this plan, the plan's for Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, Pharaoh, I can save Egypt. But Joseph has made provision
They can feed
for
everyone.
all the earth, for all the region to come to him. Why?
I mean, is it so the brothers have to come back?
Well, I mean, I think it's multiple, but I think that's part of it. The line of Abraham, all the descendants of Abraham, they're called to be a blessing to the nations, right? They're blessed to be a blessing. Joseph's living that out. Like, he wants to take care of the nations, quite literally.
Yeah, he's the first literal one to save the world.
But he does not go to Pharaoh saying, hey, we're going to exclude everybody. We're only going to take care of our own. Like, he makes provision in this amount to not just take care of the Egyptians, which, even though he's taxing them, he's going to sell to anybody who's got the money and the resources to come and get it. But he's made provision for that. And so now, in your mind's eye of wondering what's going on in Joseph's mind, he knows that the world is going to be coming. Yeah. And so in his mind, he's like, I wonder how long until
he's looking,
the brothers come, right?
And the Bible's very literal here. The world was coming to him. Like, it's not like
That whole region.
lots of people came around.
So the region of Israel, like if you study history, they'll call it the Levant, but it's like Israel, Syria, all that area. They're coming.
Yeah.
All the Canaanites, for sure, they are coming. And so verse 1, it says, when Jacob learned that there was grain for sale in Egypt. So they're looking everywhere, right? Like, oh, go up to the Hittite territory. Nothing there. We'll go over here to the Hivites. Oh, nothing there. We're going to look everywhere. Nobody's selling grain. And then he gets a report, Egypt. It's the only place. It's the only place that has grain. And so he says to his sons, after he hears this report, why are you looking at one another? which is kind of funny. Like it's
a weird humorous part of the story.
It feels like it's diminishing, but so imagine the scene. Jacob's sitting around, somebody comes to him with a report, Egypt has grain, and then all of a sudden his first line to his sons is, why are you looking at one another? What do you think's happening here? Because you could read this as all right, there's grain. What are you doing? Get off your butts and go get the grain. Like, what are you doing? Why are you looking at each other? Which might be true, but the Hebrews and the hit pile, which means it's a closed circuit. So imagine this. Somebody comes in and says to Jacob, there's grain in Egypt. And now all of a sudden the brothers are all start looking at each other like,
oh, their guilty consciences are back.
They're like, Egypt, what's going on? Like death is at our doorstep and now we're being sent to Egypt. We've been wondering, if us interrupting God's dream is coming to play. And that's possible. Like it's possible that that's the interpretation. But now he looks at them and it's like, when somebody's caught in something, you can tell who the guilty parties are because they can't help but look at each other like,
yeah,
uh-oh, like they know, they found out. And so he's like, why are you looking at one another? He said, behold, I've heard that there is grain for sale in Egypt. Go down and buy grain for us there that we may live and not die. So another thing that's interesting that comes out of this is the families reunited. Remember, Judah, for example, had been on his own, living off in Canaanite territory.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We don't know what the other brothers were up to at this time, but now they're all together again. So the famine and probably other things like Judah's repentance and all the family has come back together as one core. Maybe it's crisis that have driven them together. But now you have Jacob saying, get off your bottoms and go down to Egypt. There's grain there. It's our only hope for survival, right? So now if you've been studying the Bible through Genesis, what's the problem?
Egypt is never good.
Yeah, Egypt, good things don't come when you go down to Egypt.
Yeah, every time this family's gone down to Egypt, it's been bad.
That's right. So think back to Abraham, right? God sends him to the land. He goes there. There's famine in the land. And what does he do? He goes down to Egypt with his wife. What does he do there?
Tell him you're my sister.
Yeah, that's right. He betrays his wife. She goes into Pharaoh's harem. God has to show up and send plagues on Pharaoh to rescue her out of there. And God ultimately takes care of them, but not great things came out of that. Yeah. Then you fast forward to Isaac in chapter 26, and it's like, hey, there's a great famine in the land. This sounds familiar. And God comes to Isaac and says, do not go down to Egypt. God actually intervenes and says, you're not allowed to go to Egypt.
Yeah.
Isaac gets blessed with tremendous wealth in the middle of a famine, supernaturally, right? So now here we are with another famine. God doesn't speak up. He's made provision there, but I think he's using this as a means of judgment in some sense on this family, but also provision to spare their lives. It's the what you meant for evil, God means for good, but they're going down to Egypt. So already your brain should be thinking something bad's coming, right?
Yeah.
Which, does something bad come?
Kinda-ish.
Ultimately, yeah. What happens?
They're reunited with Joseph.
Hooray, hallelujah.
Oh, but down past that, they're enslaved.
Yeah, so here's something that nobody ever talks about. I'm going to kind of blow before we get to Exodus. But what the issue is, great, they survived the famine. Why is it that Jacob and his sons, or his sons at least, after the famine is over, didn't leave Egypt and go back home?
Yeah, they didn't go back to the promised land.
Do you know why? I'm reading into this, but I think they get comfortable. Because Joseph is like, I'm going to give you the best part of the land. I'm going to give you great crops, and I'm going to give you the best linens. And they're like, why go back to that promised land? I'm kind of comfortable in Egypt.
My brothers figured this out.
Right?
He's going to hook me up.
Promised land, schmomished land. Like,
this is green.
Right? This is nice. There's far less, famines here. Like, why would we go back there? They get comfortable and then they get enslaved, which is a lesson to us, right? Because when it's comfortable, it's easier to God wants me to do. Just seems kind of nice. Things are taken care of.
Joseph was able to be their God in a sense because he was controlling everything.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah.
Like, I don't need provision from God because Joseph has solved this issue. He's going to solve the next one for me too.
But 100%, which he will through Moses after 400 years. But in this, it's weird to think that if God means Egypt to be the symbol of death, right? Which is pretty clear in Scripture, like, they have to go down to Egypt to find life.
Yes.
That's weird, right? And then God is going to unfurl this long story of salvation, which is Genesis and Exodus together, and then all the way to Joshua. It's telling the story of salvation, right?
Yeah.
So they go down there, and all future generations are born into the land of sin and slavery, or death and slavery. Can you relate to that?
Yeah.
You're born with a sin nature, doomed to death.
Super
right?
sinful, yeah.
Then what happens? God unleashes the plague, which is destroying all the Egyptian idols. We'll get to that when we get to Exodus. It's really fascinating. But then after he wrecks all the idols, the blood is shed, placed on the doorposts. They're released from the curse of death that comes in the 10th plague. They cross through the waters.
Delivered, yeah.
Which, by the way, the New Testament refers to baptism. They go into the wilderness, and they're awaiting Yeshua, to lead them into the promised land. So the whole story put together is the story of our salvation, but it's the nation of Israel that goes through it in a physical sense, what our spiritual reality is going to be, right? In Christ. And so now all this is set up. In verse 3, it says, so 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt, but Jacob did not send Benjamin, Joseph's brother, with his brothers, for he feared that harm might happen to him. How do you read that?
I just love that the Bible, it's kind of funny that they just call them Joseph's brothers from here on out.
Yeah.
Like whenever it's referred to, they're like the thing that they feared most is coming true. And the Bible's like alluding to that. Like, you hated this guy so much, and in your sin, I'm just going to identify you purely with your relationship with him.
Sure. That's really good. But it's also, they're not Jacob's sons.
Yeah.
So it's like, in one sense, it's the worst of both for them. They're Joseph's brothers, but they're also not Jacob's sons. It's kind of interesting that it does that. But this shows you, has Jacob learned his lesson about favorites?
No, he just moved on to Benjamin.
Now I go to the only other son born from Rachel. Joseph is gone. He thinks he's dead. Well, Benjamin's left. I'll send you. All of them.
This is crazy. I mean, either that's how, and I don't want to read too much into this because we do put a lot on Jacob in this podcast.
Yeah.
But either they're all so expendable. It's like, hey, all 10 of you go. I don't care what happens. Hopefully you come back with some grain. Or that's just how dire the situation was. Like, there's nothing for 9 of them to do if one of them goes and gets all the grain. He's like,
that's an interesting point.
This problem's so big that I need my best case. One of 10 of you is coming back.
That's right. And you got to think, if everybody's desperate. So, like, you let your imagination go into the story. If the entire region is desperate for food, and you go down there and you're coming back with food to last a year, guess what you're going to be the target of?
You're dead.
Bandits, thieves. So this is dangerous. You need every available male you can have for defense going down. And he's like, I can spare 10. Yeah. But you're not getting Benjamin.
Yeah.
Fend for yourselves. I hope you make it back because we need food here. But not Benjamin.
Yes.
Like, he's precious. I can lose you guys and be okay.
And I'd rather die with Benjamin than live without it.
Good point.
Which is crazy. I mean, remember when Joseph was killed and he learned about that? He's like, I'm going to mourn that guy forever. I'm going to go to Sheol with this mourning still going. Yeah. So obviously he's not learning about anything.
Yeah. So and the journey, if you went from Hebron, let's say they're in Hebron, and you went all the way to Avaris, which is where I think Joseph is stationed, it's 325 miles.
Oof.
So that would be the equivalent. We're in Fort Lauderdale. That would be the equivalent of us going from Fort Lauderdale to Gainesville and a little farther.
That's crazy.
By foot or donkey or whatever. and then all the way back. So this is weeks of traveling, dangerous terrain. Like I said, you need everybody. And he's like, nope, you can't have Benjamin. And by the way, he's babying Benjamin. But do you know how old he is? Because when you read this story, how old
makes me feel like he's 7.
Right?
That's how I read it.
He feels like he's, oh, not Benjamin. He's too vulnerable.
Oh, he's not going to be helpful in this journey. Like, he'll be a nuisance.
He's at least in his 20s.
Oof.
So when Joseph is betrayed, Benjamin's already been born. Joseph is 17, right?
Okay.
When he's exalted, he's 30. Now when the famine starts, he's 37. So at least 20 years has passed since his betrayal.
So Benjamin's more than 20.
Probably in his mid-20s.
Oh, that's different. I never thought about that.
And still Jacob is like, no, not him. So he's like, failure to launch right here going on with Benjamin, right?
Are they all like that? Are any of them married?
Yeah. And
Okay.
Benjamin, by the way, I think he's the one who has the most kids of all the brothers.
Okay.
So I don't know if they're married. It has
just don't talk about like
that
family
yet.
units. Yeah.
And I don't think it gives us a timeline as to whether or not they have children now. We know Judah, for example, he's had children.
Yeah, there's
My
descendants.
guess is the other ones are too. But only the adults, only the brothers are mentioned as having gone. But Jacob's playing all the favoritism stuff. And when you go through the brothers, like, why is it, if you're Jacob and you think about it, like, there's such a dysfunctional relationship, but you have Reuben who's, slept with one of your concubines and tried to, unseat you as the patriarch. Problem. You can send him away.
Yeah.
You got Simeon and Levi who did the
Murdered a
whole thing
whole
with
village.
Shechem and murdered a whole village and brought in all these widows and orphans. And you're like, they're pretty terrible. You got Judah who turned away and went and lived with the Canaanites and did all his stuff and was into cult prostitutes and everything else. And you're like, well, he's a disappointment as a son. Read into it that Joseph is constantly bringing bad reports about them.
Yeah.
And their character is so awful that when Joseph is betrayed, of course, Jacob doesn't know this, but their character on display is like, we'll hide it from our dad. Yeah, we'll fake his death.
And none of them have cracked.
None of them.
That's the crazy part to me, that like
Not one.
I'd after 10 years I'd be like, we got to tell somebody.
Like, even from the Machiavellian perspective of like, hey, Dad, give me some of the inheritance. I'm on your side. Like,
Yes.
listen to how
Listen
evil
to what
these
these
brothers
guys
are.
think.
None of them. They're all on the same. They're lockstep in their evil. And so, like, you got to read into that. What does these decades looked like to where Jacob's like, you 10, just please, whatever, go away. There's a real dysfunction. And here's the crazy part. When you get to Revelation and it describes heaven, you want to know whose names are on the gates of heaven?
Probably these guys, I'm guessing.
These guys.
Huh.
Like, you're going to have a gate for Reuben, right? And Simeon and Levi and Judah. And that's just wild. Like, these guys are going to be redeemed. And you've got to keep that in mind as you're reading through these stories, because God's got a plan for them, even through all the muck.
And like we said the whole time in this podcast, I hope the listeners hear this too, because we have thrown a lot of dirt at these guys.
Yeah.
Like, thank God he redeems these guys, because I'm not far from them. Yeah, like,
Right, yeah.
I may not have swords. I don't know what I would do with a sword, but I need the redemption as well.
Yeah, it is radical grace. So verse 5, it says, thus the sons of Israel came to buy among the others who came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. So like, there's a caravan of all these different tribes and cities that gets together. They're on their way to Egypt. By the way, Joseph has probably seen a lot of Canaanites coming in, and they're like, okay, brothers are coming soon. And we know also, I've mentioned this before, but we know that the Canaanites are coming. They were called the Hyksos, which means foreign rulers. And you see on Egyptian tomb paintings, massive numbers of foreigners coming in for food. They were called feeders by the ancient Egyptians. We know this was happening in history. So verse 6, now Joseph was governor over the land. He was the one who sold to all the people of the land. Now, interesting thing, because if you think, okay, he's selling to all the people of Egypt, that would mean he has to be in every city. He's, running around from silo to silo selling. No, he has authority over all of that process. But I think, and this is my opinion, the word there that it says when he sold to all the people of the land, the Hebrew word there is eretz, and it can mean land, but it can also mean earth and world. And so I think what's going on, pretty confident about this, Joseph goes up to the northeast side of the Nile Delta where all the Canaanites are going to be coming in. He's there, majority of the population of Egypt's way to the south. He's up in the northeast. Why?
That's
Because
where people are coming from.
he's controlling all the foreign trade that's coming. Why? Because I think he's got an interest in seeing what the foreigners are going to be looking like, right? And so he's not only selling to the Egyptians, but to all the hordes that are coming in from Asia. The Egyptians called them Asiatics. And so he's eager to see the brothers, bless the nations, to enrich Egypt. And here's another, my last archaeological nerd note for the day. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So I watched a show, and this got me, actually, it's what sparked a lot of my interest in archaeology. It was called Patterns of Evidence. It was a series on Netflix where they talked about in a place called, today it's called Tel El Daba, but in the ancient world, it was Avaris. And they found a complex where an Egyptian official was, but the palace that was built for this Egyptian official was of a kind of a Syro-Palestine structure. Like it would have been somebody living in the Israel area. And it had a fascination with 12. So there's 12 columns, there's 12 graves, but one of the 12 is a pyramid, meaning that one of them was a royal official. When you go in and you see the remnants of the statue that was in this little pyramid, pretty big pyramid, but a little one by comparison to what we see, he's got a multicolored coat. He's got reddish hair. He's got yellow skin, which means he's not a native Egyptian. He's a Canaanite. That's how they captured him. They found a gold ring that was for an official that was responsible for all foreign trade. And this is going to be the city where the Hebrews dwell. Later, it'll be called Ramses. When you get to Exodus and it says they're enslaved, Ramses was built on top of Avaris. And so everything about this particular place screams, this is Joseph. Pet theory, but I think this is Joseph's place.
And if you want more on that, we did a whole episode on Under the Hood. So if you like that archaeological nugget and you want to listen to 30 more minutes of it,
Fascinating.
Under the Hood.
It's worth it. It's a good 30 minutes.
Great.
So go to Under the Hood's YouTube channel. You can watch it all. So Joseph's brothers came and bowed themselves before him with their faces to the ground. What do you hear in that?
I mean, the dream is now complete, right?
Almost.
Oh, Dad's not there yet.
And
Benihana.
and Benihana, yeah. So the dream is 11, right? 11 are going to bow.
We got 10.
We got 10. So it's hinting that the dream is coming. It's like Joseph's like, oh, almost, but there's only 10 here.
He's like counting one.
Yeah. Right? But he notices real quick.
And they don't notice him.
Yeah, they have no idea. No idea.
He's probably fitting to the Egyptian culture now, wouldn't you say? Like an Egyptian garb and whatnot.
So imagine, my oldest son is 17 years old.
Okay.
Right? So if I imagine him throw on another, 25 years, he's going to look radically different. As an Egyptian official, he's probably got a shaved head, where in Hebrew culture, men allowed their hair to go crazy, long beards and everything else, but totally shaven. He's dressed in Egyptian garb. He's got all the royal, and the idea that Joseph is going to be a big to-do in Egyptian culture, like it's not even on their radar or their mind, right? And so they show up. They don't recognize him, but he recognizes them. And no doubt, like you said, Joseph's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where's Benjamin? And if you're Joseph at that moment, what are you thinking?
Ugh, this again.
What have they done to him?
Oh, yeah.
If they were willing to betray me, sell me into slavery, and now 10 of them show up and the one remaining son's not here, what have you done to my brother? You scoundrels. Like, I know you were heartless in what you did to me. Did you go home to Dad's one other remaining son of Rachel, whom he loved, and did you murder him? Did you sell him off into slavery? And so now Joseph is going to be laser focused from this moment, like, what happened to Benjamin? And it's going to play a big part in this story.
And with the thoughts on Joseph's dream, it is interesting. Like when you first read it, and it's sheaves bowing down to Joseph. If you don't know this part of the story, it makes no sense. But now all of a sudden you're like, oh, they need grain.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have a sheep. And by the way, these are sheaves that are cut down. And so Joseph's, for a dead sheep that's on the ground like this to raise up, it's somebody who, even interpreting the dream, it's somebody who's been driven down into dire circumstances, right? Death.
Called back up.
Who's now raised up, right? And now the others are coming and they're made alive, bowing down to him. I mean, in a sense, it's telling the whole story of what's going on here. That's a good point. So verse 7, it says, Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he treated them like strangers and spoke roughly to them. Where do you come from? He said. They said, we're from the land of Canaan to buy food. It's a question. Biblical ethics. He sees the brothers show up. Isn't it the responsibility of a godly man to just run and give them a hug and be like, oh my gosh, it's so great to see you. I can't wait to forgive you. I hope things are going well.
No, I think this is the difference between what we want to make biblical ethics and biblical wisdom. Like, I don't think this is a right and wrong thing, because sometimes wisdom is the gray area of how do I approach. That would be wrong.
Yeah.
Like, if you let them go,
Agreed.
and that's where the story ends, like, that's sin. I think wisdom says, like, you guys threw me in a pit and sold me into slavery.
Yeah.
We're not going to reconcile easily. I want reconciliation, but it's going to take a moment.
Correct. And so here I want to pause and I want to just dissect, because this is something that we in the church, and this will get a lot of feedback and heat maybe, but I think we in the church get this wrong a lot.
Okay.
There's a difference between forgiveness, reconciliation, and restoration.
Of course.
All right. Yeah. So here's the question: Is a Christian required to forgive those that have wronged them?
Absolutely. 100% every single time.
That's right. You don't have a choice. Like, that is commanded of you. So like Jesus, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Sermon on the Mount, right? Forgive us. This is how we're to pray. Forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. Jesus talks in the parable of the unforgiving servant, like he's thrown into punishment for refusing to forgive. Or Ephesians 4:32, forgive one another as God in Christ forgave you. You don't earn forgiveness. You can't earn forgiveness. You'll never stand before Jesus going, yes, I earned my forgiveness. But the Bible comes and says you are required to forgive everyone, no matter what. You have no option if you're an authentic Christian. And by the way, you will never forgive anyone in your life, no matter what you've been through, of something more egregious than what you did to God's son.
Yeah.
And he forgave you. No option. So Joseph here has to forgive his brothers, which means it doesn't mean I don't want justice. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be wise and learning from it. But what it does mean is, personally, I don't want your destruction anymore. I'm going to pray for you and want good for you and from you. Like, I'm releasing you of all this hatred and bitterness and everything else that I have. The next question is, are you required to reconcile?
What does the Bible say? As far as it depends on you.
That's it. That's right. As I was
don't know exactly what that
just going to read.
To be honest.
I wouldn't have if I didn't write it down, but I did. So Romans 12:18, if possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. So what does that mean? What does this look like for Joseph?
And for Joseph, now, the forgiveness was just all on him. Mm-hmm. It's his decision, and I'll speak for me. It's my decision to forgive. If you've wronged me, even if you don't come to me, I need to forgive you, even though I never see you again.
Yeah, and you see Joseph's forgiveness, by the way, in the fact that he has all authority and he doesn't go, hey, destroy them, right?
Yeah.
So he's testing where they are for the rest of this path, right? So I'm thinking Joseph is looking to reconcile, but he's doing some investigation first.
Yeah,
right?
like where their heart's at in this whole. Like,
that's right.
If they did kill Benjamin, that's a big issue.
Yeah, and here comes some justice.
Yeah.
And that would not be wrong, right? So the last one is, so required to forgive, yes, every time, always. Are you required to reconcile? And as much as it's up to you, seek it out. If the other person is unwilling, you're free, right?
If they punch you in the face every time you come up to talk to them, then no.
Yeah, then obviously reconciliation is not feasible. Pull back.
But the Bible's desire is reconciliation.
Should want it.
Yeah.
You should go after it, and if it's not possible, from your perspective, you're free until the other person changes. The last one is, are you required to restore the relationship?
No.
And the answer is no. And that's the one we get messed up on all the time, right? I know I'm required to forgive. I know that I'm required to seek reconciliation. But let's say that the first two happen well, right? Am I required to be restored into the same circumstances with that person that I was before?
No.
No. Like there's wisdom here. Yes, I want the best for you. Yes, I forgive you. I'm not harboring any bitterness. I want the best for you. I want God to forgive you. I want, all that stuff. And by the way, when we pass each other in Publix, I want to be able to say hello to you and, how are the kids? But am I going to bring you in as my closest associate going forward? Like we've just discovered it's not good for us.
It's the Publix test, as Tom tells us.
Yeah.
Like if I see you at Publix, will I duck down a different aisle or will I say hello?
That's right.
That's a reconciliation.
That's reconciled. But restoring is, are you going to live with me again? Or, whatever. Like,
the trust. I think that's a trust factor.
That's right. And so there, you see that in the Bible, by the way, where Paul, who writes tons about forgiveness, has to separate from Barnabas and Mark in his missionary journeys, right? Yeah. They're all godly people. I love Barnabas. I love Paul. I love John Mark, who writes Mark's gospel, right? All of these are phenomenal people. And yet they come to a place where they're like, we shouldn't work together. You go this way, we'll go that way. And the Bible doesn't come and say, and they were sinning. Like, no, at the end of Paul's life, he's asking for John Mark and talking about how precious he is. Forgiven, right? Reconciled. But they don't work together again.
Yeah, we're not teammates again. And that's
right?
Okay.
And that's okay if wisdom leads you there. And so if a person's presence is going to trigger sinful behavior, you love them, but you bless each other on the way in separate directions.
If your accountant's stealing money from you, you can reconcile and not have him be your accountant again.
Great example.
Like that's
great example.
Taking all emotions out of it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. All right. So, but Joseph is doing something here. He comes and he speaks roughly. That word there literally means inflexible. Like he's not giving them an inch. It's the same word when the Israelites are going to be referred to as a stiff-necked people.
Okay.
It's like, I'm unmovable. You're not going to move me off of square one. He comes sternly. There's no warmth. There's no like, oh, I'm ready to compromise. Congratulations. Here's some stuff. But there's times where being like stiff-necked with somebody is important also. So like as a Christian, as a pastor, I've had somebody under my discipleship who was addicted to meth who used to call me and be like, can I have money? And I would say, what? I love you too much to give you money. Absolutely not. And they would say, you don't love me. You never loved me.
And you didn't say that really nicely is what you're saying.
No, not at all. But that particular one I'm thinking of has been redeemed as an incredible story now. But in that moment, the worst thing I could do would have been to be soft.
Yeah.
The least loving thing would have been to be soft. Sometimes you need hard lines, to protect people from themselves. If you were saying, hey, I think I'm going to commit adultery today, like I'm coming hard at you, right?
Yes.
And sometimes if I'm defending an institution or a flock, I have to be hard and inflexible, even though I personally don't want to fight the battle. For the sake of the institution, I have to have a steel spine.
Yeah.
And that's really hard sometimes. But this is what Joseph knows. In this particular case, having that hard spine is going to let him do surgery to figure out where the hearts of these brothers are and what they need.
Because they haven't come to a breaking point naturally.
Not that he knows.
Not that he knows or
Judah,
tell.
maybe.
Yeah.
But the rest of them.
But even after Judah's repentance, he doesn't go and tell the whole story
to
Dad, which I think is also fascinating.
That's interesting. I've never thought
deep
of that.
that was in all of them. Like he's ready to go in a cult prostitution.
Yeah.
Got caught. Don't burn Tamar. Let's stop that.
She's more righteous than me.
She's more righteous.
But yeah.
But a decade ago, we did something I don't want to talk about still.
Oh, yeah, he hasn't come clean. That's interesting. I've never thought of that. Good point. So anyway, verse 8, and Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. So changed appearance. And again, so mmany interesting things about the way this story unfolds. So how there's constantly the garments that change, the circumstances change. The garment is taken and there's a false accusation or whatever. But another thing that you find, particularly in the life of Jacob and his kids, is every time there's a hidden identity, something's going on. So you go back to when Jacob stole the blessing, what happens? He pretends to be somebody else.
Yeah, he dressed up
to accomplish it. Then where else do you see that? Leah dresses up to imitate Rachel to marry Jacob. Tamar dresses up to fool Judah to be impregnated. Now Joseph is clothed in regal attire. They're real, but they don't recognize him. And so in costume, there's always people being deceived about what's really going on. And here they're deceived not knowing this is Joseph. And Joseph remembered the dreams that he had dreamed of them, and he said to them, "You're spies. You've come to see the nakedness of the land." And so, like, if you're the brothers, you're coming, there's 10 of you.
Yeah, you're...
Among thousands of people.
That's not what you want.
And he comes to you 10, you are spies. And like all of a sudden their fears are growing. Oh, Dad knew it was Egypt. Now we're here. Now we're being singled out. Something's going on. They, no doubt they feel like there's an omen or something going on. And another thing to get into your mind is when Joseph says you're spies, what do you think? When you hear the term spies, what do you think of?
Like CIA cloak and dagger stuff.
Yep. The KGB or Mossad, like, you know, I'm secretly going behind the scenes to plot a coup and to overthrow your government. That's not what the word here is. In Hebrew, it's rogel, and it literally means to wander about, to scheme, right? So, and when it says the nakedness of the land, it's like you're coming to find where we're vulnerable, where you can steal.
Oh, to steal grain.
You're coming.
Okay.
Yeah. And
That
the
makes
word
more
there,
sense.
the nakedness, it's like genitals. You've come to find the vulnerable. Sorry. You've come to find the vulnerable spot of our land so you can exploit it. What do you hear in that? Like Joseph is starting to lay down accusations on them that he has experienced.
Yeah.
You get it? Mm-hmm. Like I was accused, right? Falsely of wanting to exploit to
Well, I was
Potiphar's
derobed
wife.
when you threw me into a well as well.
And now he's saying you are coming here for that same reason. You're trying to make sport of us, in other words. And so Joseph, is he lying? Is he making this up?
No.
Like, I think there's a very real possibility. I think he's doing this with a purpose, a scheme that's going to reveal their hearts. But listen to this. He knows that his brothers are fairly ruthless schemers. He knows they have a history of wandering where they shouldn't wander.
Uh-huh.
He knows they have a history of provoking bad reports, right? They have a history of exploiting the innocent for personal profit. He knows that they go into places and take advantage of them and have looted and plundered places. So when they come into Egypt, there's probably a real part of him that's like, what are you guys doing? Like, how are you planning to exploit us? I don't think he's concerned about that. I don't think he's worried about them bankrupting Egypt. But he knows, like, he's calling them on their character so that they have to sweat. Because the reality is that's exactly what kind of people they are.
And a confusing part of the story is Joseph honoring God is protecting the rights of the land of death in Egypt. Like his job responsibility right now, whatever he's doing is for the Lord, and that's protecting these grain silos that Egypt runs, which is confusing, it feels like. Like right now, Joseph's work to be honoring to the Lord is making sure no one steals from Egypt, which feels weird because Egypt's usually a bad place.
Yeah.
But God put
That's
him
his role.
in that position.
It's like Daniel, you know, having to step up for the interests of Babylon.
Yeah, it's confusing to us, but it is one where it's like, oh.
Yeah, as long as they're not calling you to disobey God or dishonor God, go for it.
And in a weird
Want
way,
the best for Egypt. Want the best for Babylon.
Yeah.
Go.
Pharaoh and all of Egypt's like, your God's doing great.
Yeah, right.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
You do what you need to do as long as it rewards us. Whereas his brothers are like slaughtering villages and stuff. So it's like,
Right. But in this, hear what Joseph is setting up. Now they are foreign predators who are aiming to exploit the nakedness of Egypt. Like that's what put Joseph in a prison. Guess what's about to happen to them?
prison.
That's right. So verse 10, they said to him, "No, my Lord, your servants have come to buy food." And so now they're offering more information, trying to justify themselves, which is exactly what Joseph wanted.
Yeah, he's looking for more.
Yeah. So if the screws are on, you're trying to say, "Oh, this is everything I know. Like I'm not guilty. We're all sons of one man. We're honest men. Your servants have never been spies," which is funny to hear them say we're honest men because they're like actively lying to their dad for decades. He said to them, "No, it is the nakedness of the land that you have come to see." So they're all quick to confess. Like, no. Why would they all say we're all sons of one man? Why do they say that?
Well,
Because if you're sons of one man, are you spies? Like, if I'm a nation and I'm sending you to exploit grain or whatever, like, there's a couple things. One, you're probably not going to be one family, right? You're going to put together your best men. And by the way, if you are one family, no dad is going to send all of his sons. Like, so they're like, this is our only claim to innocence.
this
like,
family's so illogical.
We're just a family. We're not from a foreign nation. We're not coming here on any kind of super dangerous thing. And so I'm just trying to imagine Joseph hearing them say, we're honest men. Like he had to just bit his lip. So as they said, we are your servants. We're 12 brothers, the son of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is no more. So what do they believe about Joseph?
That he's dead.
He's dead. And that makes a lot of sense because the life expectancy of a slave in the ancient world
Not this long, yeah.
I've seen estimates even into the Roman Empire from between like 17 is the youngest I've seen up to late 20s. And so how old is Joseph? He's beyond that. If he's been a slave down there all this time, he's gone. Like he probably hasn't survived any of this. So he's no more. And so, but now they acknowledge that they have this brother and that they have Benjamin. And so now Joseph is like, okay,
He's got all the information he needs.
I thought Benjamin was dead. You're claiming he's still alive, but now I want proof of life. And so here comes the plan, which Joseph has probably been thinking of, something of how to do this for years. And the other thing that this shows is that if the brothers are saying one brother is no more, what does it show about the brothers' belief in Joseph's dreams? Joseph is hinging all of his faith on the fact that God gave him those dreams. Someday he's going to make good on these dreams.
Yeah.
But the brothers are like, he's dead, which means
The dreams were fake.
the dreams were fake. These just, we're never bowing down to that guy.
Or they were Joseph's creation.
Joseph's creation, like it shows that they are not believing in the dreams that God gave to Joseph. So verse 14 says, but Joseph said to them, again, throwing down the accusation. He's not backing away from it. It is as I said to you, you are spies. By this you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh, you shall not go from this place unless your youngest brother, Benjamin, that's who that is, comes here. So he lays this allegation at the feet of the brothers. You are spies. You are spies. You are spies. And then he says, by the life of Pharaoh, which means like there's not a chance. If you thought I was inflexible before, now I'm swearing by the life of Pharaoh himself that you're not all getting out of here.
Yeah.
Until I see Benjamin.
Yeah, now that we can't undo this now.
Yeah, now it's like as the Lord lives in the Hebrew scriptures, by the life of Pharaoh means this is irrevocable. We're in deep trouble. And then he says, and this is where the test gets interesting, like it's a fun mind experiment. He says, send one of you. Let him bring your brother while you remain confined, that your words may be tested, whether there is truth in you. You claim to be honest men? Let's see.
Yeah, this is easy to solve if you are honest.
That's right. Or else, by the life of Pharaoh, bam, there it is again, surely you are spies. And he put them all together in custody for 3 days. Why 3 days? He's got a plan. Like he's learned, how does God do this? God shows righteousness or guilt after 3 days. That's what he did with the cupbearer and the baker. I'm going to send you into the prison that I used to be in charge of, where I know all of the people that are around there that are managing it and everything else. You're going into prison for 3 days, right?
And this is all 10 of them, right?
This is all 10 of them. And the idea is send one of you. So it's almost like he's saying, pick one.
Yeah.
Send them in jail. How do you think that goes in jail when they're sitting around going, who should it be?
I mean, you're the one, fine, just get out of this jail. So everyone wants it to be them.
Yep. 100%. But this is the deal. Like you have to determine, this plan is going to determine whether or not Benjamin and Jacob are really alive. It's going to test the characters of the brothers, the character of the brothers to determine whether they've changed. It's going to force the brothers to experience the bitter taste of what he has suffered, we'll see. And Joseph is prepared to impose real justice on his brothers. Like if they don't come back with Benjamin, I think he's ready to leave them rot there because it reveals you're guilty and you deserve this. This is real justice.
And they have this would be a tough decision because they're trying to find out who their dad trusts the most with his most prized possession, and it's none of them.
That's correct.
Like, they know, like...
That's the point of this.
Yeah, wow.
Like, you're going to go sit in jail, the 10 of you, and these are the questions you have to ask yourself. Which of us would we send that dad is going to be most likely to trust? Because Joseph wants to know that. Are there any of you that your father would trust? Or are you all just wicked to the bone? Also, which one of you do you all trust? Because you're not going to send somebody who's going to be like, I got out of there. I'm not going back there. I'm going to leave them all to rot, because that's exactly what they did to Joseph, right? So can you trust them to go? Each of them is proven capable of betraying a brother for money. So in this, when he comes back in 3 days, or when he's got people spying out what they're saying while they're in this pit, it's, well, Dad definitely doesn't trust you. And he definitely doesn't trust you. And you did this and you did that. And he's learning which one. So all of this is revealing, right? Mm-hmm. So verse 18, on the third day, Joseph said to them, do this and you will live, for I fear God. Now that's interesting
to hear from an Egyptian ruler.
Yep. So the word used there is Elohim, which is the title for God, but it can also mean
other gods,
right? So it all depends on which Hebrew verb is associated with it. If it's a singular verb, it's Elohim, the God of the Bible. If it's not, if it's a plural verb that's associated with it, that means the pagan gods, right? So he's like, do this and you'll live, for I fear God. Now it's a 2 to 3 week journey back and forth. So it's going to be, no matter who it goes, even if they do it quickly, it's 6 weeks. And so Joseph is dropping a bombshell. He's like, hey, I want you to survive. I fear God, right? I fear the heavens. I believe that there's a power above us. And so now all of the brothers are like, oh my goodness, look at this. Now he's speaking on behalf of the heavens. This omen is just compounding more. The deeper we go into this story, the more it seems like heaven is judging us. And so, verse 19, if you are honest men, snicker, let one of your brothers remain behind. I'm going to change the deal. Instead of keeping 9 of you and letting one go, I'm going to let 9 of you go and keep one, probably for your own safety and getting back home with all the grain. You're going to need, some help and carrying and all that stuff. So he's thinking about the benefit of Joseph and Benjamin here too. Let one of your brothers remain confined where you are in custody, and let the rest go and carry grain for the famine of your household. And bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified and you shall not die. And they did so. What do you think here?
It's like the ultimate test from Joseph, because he was the one expendable brother. Now he's seeing, have your hearts really change? It's not, is one of you going to stick up for 9 of you? It's, do 9 of you hate one enough to leave him behind?
So think of how much information he's gathering here. The first one is, who's most trusted by Jacob? Who's most trusted by you to not forsake the rest of you? Now it's, which one do you want to leave behind?
Yes.
Which one of you do you feel like is the most culpable, the most deserving of justice? Or which one of you will step up and say, hey, leave me? So he's gaining lots of intel here. And they said to one another, in truth, we're guilty concerning our brother. Whoa, they're volunteering this. And that we saw the distress of his soul. They're talking to one another, right? Not to Joseph. In truth, we're guilty concerning our brother, and that we saw the distress of his soul. So this is giving us insight into that moment from Genesis 37 when Joseph is about to be sold, when he begged us and we did not listen. So now you hear Joseph actually was pleading for his life. That is why this distress has come upon us. So now you learn, why do the brothers think all this has happened? Why do they think the famine happened? Why do they get singled out by this Egyptian official? Why are they being kept? Why are they having to go back for Benjamin? Why? God is so clearly imposing justice on us. It's for Joseph, and we know it. And so now for the first time, you see their conscience getting pricked. It's the you are that man moment.
Yeah.
And Reuben answered them, did I not tell you not to sin against the boy? But you didn't listen. And so quickly, all of the rest of them are like, it's what we did. And Reuben's like, yeah, it's what you did.
Wasn't Reuben the one who was like, let's kill him?
No, Reuben is the one who's like, hold on, we'll put him in the pit. Okay. No, don't do anything. And then when he goes, Judah sells him. Reuben comes back and goes, what have you done?
Yeah.
So in reality, Reuben is still throwing him into a pit, but he wasn't involved in the plan. But now it's like, my hands are clean. This is all your fault. What's the problem with that?
He's not clean.
You've been sitting on this for decades.
Yeah.
The moment you didn't speak up, the moment you didn't chase down, the moment you didn't tell your dad the truth, you're just as guilty as everybody else. And so one of the interesting things is they're all in a pit, and it's the same word that's used for the pit, the cistern that Joseph was thrown into. So they're walking in his steps. And so now, this is what he says. So now there comes a reckoning for his blood. He believes that there's death, that they're responsible, that essentially they murdered him. And he's quoting here, almost quoting Genesis 9, back to the days of Noah, when God says, for your lifeblood, I will what? Require a reckoning. And now you have Reuben, who's like, we took his blood. We essentially murdered him by selling him into slavery. And now our blood is going to be required. So verse 23, they didn't know that Joseph understood them. He's speaking Hebrew, right? For there was an interpreter between them. Then he turned away from them and wept. Why?
I don't know. Just probably hearing them talk about what happened to you would be deeply emotional.
And they haven't forgot. They're tormented by it.
Yeah.
They at least care. He doesn't know if they love him, if they're concerned about him, but at least they're walking around that this has been something weighing on them.
Yeah, like all the wrongs in my life have been because that happened.
Correct.
Like that's a lot for any human soul to bear.
Yeah, agree. So, and then he returned to them and spoke to them, and he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. Now, we're not told why Simeon, if they volunteered Simeon or if it was his decision, but I got a good case for why Simeon. If Reuben is there saying I was the one contending we shouldn't do this, right? Oh, Joseph hears that and he's like, all right, Reuben, you get a pass. But then who's next in line in the birth order who would have had the authority of the home at that moment?
Simeon.
Simeon, you're number 2. You would have been in charge. And oh, by the way, you have never had any consequences for what you did to Shechem. You are going to stay here. You're going to experience some justice. And so he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes. There's going to be 7 different times. So Joseph turns and weeps when he hears all that about him. There's 7 different times where he will break out and weep and the rest of the story. So you get the sense that even though he's emotional, even though he always does the right thing, even though he is like faithful to the core, what's brewing underneath the surface of all that obedience? Is he a stoic that doesn't care anymore and he's just smushed all the emotions?
No.
It's all there.
Shoot, to be honest, I'm shocked he only weeps 7 times. With this history, I'd be crying all the time.
But I'm talking about from this moment with the brothers forward.
Yeah.
All the encounters, like it's like he learns this and then he weeps and he learns this and then he weeps and he sees Benjamin and he weeps. And then he, like every time that there's some advancement toward reconciliation and restoration, he's breaking.
And the fact he's still soft to them at all.
Amazing. Like it would be hard to remain soft, but this is a godly man. It's a godly man who is hoping to see his brothers restored. All right, so verse 25, and Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain and to replace every man's money in his sack and to give them provisions for the journey. Super generous. And this was done for them. They loaded their donkeys with grain and departed. Why does Joseph put their silver back in their bags? It's like he's brilliant, man. So he's put them in the pit like he was. He's given them the false accusations of seeing the nakedness of Egypt as foreigners trying to exploit. He experienced that. Now they are forsaking one of their brothers down in Egypt, returning home with silver in their pockets. Sound familiar?
Yeah, that's what happened to Joseph.
That's what you did to him. So now he's recreating all of this story, right? They're going home to their father with silver in their bags to give them news that we've lost another one of your sons. In verse 27, it says, as one of them opened his sack to give donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his money in the mouth of the sack, and he said to his brothers, my money, it's been put back. Here it is in the mouth of my sack. And at this, their hearts failed them. It's like in that moment, like this terror, like, oh my goodness, what this changes everything. We're in deep, deep trouble now. And they turned trembling to one another, saying, what is this that God has done to us? And like we thought we paid. Now we're going to be accused of stealing.
Well, now
if
they're thieves.
Do go back. If we do go back, now we're all done.
Yeah.
Like, is God burning the bridge? Have we actively lost another one of our brothers? And so but notice how sensitive they are. Like they are convinced this is their very first thought is, what has God done to us? He is taking us down. We are facing divine justice, responsibility. Verse 29, when they came to Jacob, their father in the land of Canaan, they told him all that had happened to them, saying, well, the man The Lord of the land, he spoke roughly to us and took us to be spies of the land, which immediately, if you're Jacob, you're like,
Okay.
can you guys do anything without causing problems? But we said to him, we're honest men. We've never been spies. We're 12 brothers, the sons of our father. One's no more, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. Then the man, the Lord of the land, said to us, by this I shall know that you're honest men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take grain for the famine of your households, and go your way. Bring your youngest brother to me. Then I shall know that you're not spies, but honest men. And I will deliver your brother to you, and you shall trade in the land. This is the worst case scenario that Jacob could have ever heard here, right? So they're emptying their sacks, and behold, it's not just the one. Every man's bundle of money is in his sack. And when they and their father saw their bundles of money, they were afraid. Like, this isn't one accident. Like,
This is purposeful. Yeah.
and if now I want you to imagine this, because this is another fun thought exercise. If you're Jacob, what do you think happened? Because would you buy their narrative?
No.
Why not?
It just seems crazy, to be honest.
Well, they're going to pay you to get grain? Like they're going to put money back in your bags? What have you done? What did you do?
Yeah.
And what are the options, right? Like could they come back with money and grain and a story of a brother being arrested? What if you're Jacob and you're putting the pieces together? What are you going to think?
They sold Simeon.
They sold Simeon.
Because they
How
greedy
did you
people.
get this?
Yeah.
And money, and now we're missing a brother. You sold your brother, didn't you?
Yeah, like you want money so badly, and you wanted grain.
No foreign official is going to be like, oh, I just love you guys so much. Here's some extra money for the road, and take plenty of
In
grain.
the midst of a famine, yeah.
Yeah, in the midst of a famine, and your brother's now missing. Or either you sold him into slavery, or you got caught trying to steal. You guys stole, but he got caught, and now he's left behind. And by the way, if you did sell him into slavery, which seems like a very viable thing if I'm a distrusting father, which I would be with these guys, now you want Benjamin? Why? Because
Sell him too.
none of you want to be sold. You can take Benjamin.
Yeah, or his biggest question is, like, why would an Egyptian official care about Benjamin?
That's right.
It's no sense.
Like to make sure that you're honest. And if you're that official, why not send one scout down to be like, go see if they're telling the truth? Like, why make this big hassle of them having to go all the way back down for a 6-week journey, turnaround trip with all these supplies and everything, when you could send a royal Egyptian messenger or something like that?
Or just the military to take Benjamin.
Right.
Like, you want Benjamin so bad, I don't care about these guys' consciences. I'm going to go get him myself.
Which that's a good point. I never thought about that. But that means that
It's not a test of the brothers.
Joseph is more concerned about getting their brothers' hearts evaluated than he is just getting Benjamin and Jacob. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so all of this is going on. It's sowing even greater suspicion. If I'm Jacob, I'm like, wait a minute, you're the kind of brothers that sell your brother for silver and leave him in Egypt. And what message is Joseph sending to Jacob through this? Yeah, they're exactly those kinds of brothers. Even though they're innocent of this one, Jacob's going to get the message, this is who they are.
Yeah.
Gulp. And Jacob, their father, said to them, you have bereaved me of my children. Joseph is no more. Whoa. What has he hinted at there? He says, you have bereaved me of my children. And then he gives a list. Joseph is no more, which means who does he hold responsible for Joseph?
Them.
At the end of the day, here it comes. You have bereaved me of Joseph, which means he's held them in his mind responsible, even though that hasn't come out. He thinks somehow they're behind this. Oh, we just happened to find this bloody cloak and, thousands of square miles. Here it is. And Simeon is no more. And now you would take Benjamin. All this has come against me. And again, Jacob is descending into the me trap. And so now they're like, Dad, we just need another son for our next journey to Egypt. And if you're Jacob, it's like, no, not a chance. What he doesn't know is he's hoping this is the end of the famine. And hear this, he's fine with leaving Simeon.
Well, he's already written Simeon off. He's already said Simeon's no more.
He's done.
Yeah.
You guys left him. There's no chance I'm even risking Benjamin. He can rot down there. and we'll just hope the famine ends after 1 year. We'll just hope we don't have to go back and negotiate again. But what does Joseph know that Jacob doesn't? There's 7 years of this coming, and they're only in year 1 or 2. So Reuben said to his father, right? Like, he's negotiating. He's like, well, no, we really need Benjamin. So what's Reuben's solution? It's a shame this guy has a sandwich named after him. It's bad. All right. So Reuben said to his father, kill my 2 sons if I don't bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you. So what's Reuben's solution? If I cost you another son, you can kill both of mine. What?
Doesn't sound good, but it's kind of more responsible of Reuben than usual. Like, he has some skin in the game at least this round.
Yeah, I mean, it's skin in the game, but it's like, what? Like, why in the world would this be something? Oh, hooray, I get to kill your kids? Oh, right. Like, Reuben is so off the charts wrong all the time.
Well, they can't go to their dad and be like, hey, just trust me on this one. That's how broken the trust is. So he's got to be like, all right, here's the leverage you have, Grandpa. You can murder your 2 grandchildren.
But why not? Here, you can have my sons. Why would he want to kill them? Like, Reuben is... notice what he doesn't say, because this will become important later in the story as we move forward. What Reuben is not saying is, I will pay the price if we lose him.
Yeah.
That's godliness. What do you find in Reuben? Someone else, my kids, they'll pay the cost if I fail.
Yeah.
It's always moving the buck. And what you're going to find in the story where it ultimately moves is you're going to find one of these sons who finally says, I'll pay the cost. Yeah. I'll lay down my life. Hint, hint. That's what this whole story is moving toward. So we get to verse 38. And he said, Jacob says, my son shall not go down with you, for his brother's dead. He's the only one left. Ouch. What do you mean he's the only one left?
Yeah. What, 9 of us standing in front of you?
You don't count.
Yeah.
I don't count you as real sons.
It's the problem, the whole family.
Dang, dude. If harm should happen to him on the journey that you are to make, you would bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to Sheol. You're not my real sons. He's the only one that matters. Now, if you're Jacob, can you enter into that? Like, could you enter into Jacob's shoes and be like, you know, the rest of these sons have been scheming and plotting against me. They have cost me. They have been problems. I think they took my first son that I loved. Now they've taken Simeon. They're just nonstop, constant problems that they've cost me so much. But I have Benjamin here, who's the only thing that I have to remember. Rachel, who's the love of my life. I've lost Joseph. And now the only thing that I have to remember, the sweetest part of my life, is Benjamin. I cannot let go of him. I cannot do it. Like, I would rather us all die than to allow my son to go. And, you know, this is where the chapter ends, right? And if you're at this point, it's like, oh, that's not a great way to end. But what is this hinting at? Like, I want you to think of this, because Jacob has, in human terms, an unhealthy obsession with Benjamin, right? And in his mind, how is he processing this? I love this son so much that I would never, ever risk his life to spare theirs or mine. What is that teeing up for you?
Hopefully there's something better.
There's a father out there who has a son whom he loves,
beloved,
infinitely more than Jacob loves Benjamin. The father loves the son infinitely more than Jacob ever dreamed of loving Benjamin. And yet, unlike Jacob, who says, you don't count, you're not mine.
Yes.
This father who loves that son infinitely looks at the 9 scoundrels, that's you and me, by the way, and says, no, you are my sons. And as much as I love my Benjamin, my Jesus, I'll send him for you. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, when you weigh the measure of God's love for us, I will send my son down to Egypt. And by the way, he will be taken. He will suffer death. Why? so that the others can be considered authentic sons and daughters. That's the gravity. I mean, when you try to even think of it in human terms, like I can enter into Jacob's, like, no, you can't have him. You can't have him. You can't have him. And yet God, your Father, loves you so much that through far more love and far more pain would let his beloved son go to make you his sons and daughters. That's crazy.
Praise God.
Praise God. So this chapter ends with a bit of an abrupt, sad, none of you count. I can't risk my son. But it points us to a far greater story that we're a part of. We serve a good God. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for watching. Join us next time as we see some resolution to this. Like what happens when the next famine comes and they run out of food, and now Jacob is left with a decision: do I send Benjamin or do we all die? And you see God do some beautiful things through his plan that is put into place by Joseph, that's going to redeem not just the world and save the world from starvation, but it's going to take this broken family and to start weaving them together and restoring them. Forgiveness, reconciliation, restoration is on the way here. God bless.